All right. Hey, everybody. We are recording this. I'm so excited. We're doing a series on Thrivepalooza. The how, the why. A lot of people, a lot of us, we've been here for a while. So we just know, like we hear that it's released and we're ready. We're so excited. We're ready to go. We know what being in a room of other thrivers does for us. We know what filling our cup does. We know what hearing the speakers that our CEOs and president put on, what that does for us. And so there's no question, right? But I know that a lot of people, you're new, you haven't been yet. Maybe you didn't get to go when you first joined. So maybe you're not quite sure about Thrivepalooza for you. So we put this Zoom series together so that you can hear from other thrivers, hear what it did for them, why they went, how they went. We'll talk about breaking that down. I know sometimes, funds are short. I know that, we all have to live on a budget. I do remember, before I started this, we were in a lot of debt. And so there's that point where it's like, okay, what can I afford to do? One thing is you can't afford to miss Thrivepalooza, but we can help you with ideas on how to afford the hotel and the food and things like that. Kind of just do what you got to do and get a group together and figure it out. But we'll help you with tips and tricks on that. So Sheila, since you are already up and you can unmute yourself now, I think I remuted everybody. I want you to introduce yourself. Tell us where you're from and tell us, when was your first Thrivepalooza? When had you started thriving? Stuff like that so that we can kind of get a picture.
Okay, well, I'm Sheila Altman, and for those of you who do not know me, I am from a little small town called Pendergrass, Georgia. It's about an hour northeast of Atlanta. And I started thriving in April 2016, and I started promoting in October of 2016. And I went to my first Palooza the following spring. We went to NOLA, and I went there ignorance on fire. I know people have heard people say that, but that's truly what I was. I didn't really know what I was doing or what I was getting myself into. And I've shared this with people before. I walked into Palooza not knowing anyone. No one from my team in Georgia was going to be there. I knew Andrietta, but I didn't know how I could find her. I knew Shelly and Billy, but they were sitting in a VIP section. So other than those three humans that I just barely knew, I really didn't know anyone. So I went through Billy's team page and I picked out a friendly face of someone that I knew that was going to be there. And it happened to be Christy Lawler. And I sent her a private message and I'm like, hey, I'm coming to Palooza too and I don't know anyone. Will you adopt me? And of course she said yes. And I had a blast. So I walked in like the new kid at middle school that didn't know anyone, and so intimidating, but it ended up being one of the most wonderful experiences that I've ever had. I met 4 wonderful ladies that weekend. I consider them very wonderful friends now. They took me in under their wing and let me sit with them and hang out with them. And it was absolutely the most fantastic experience. I learned so much. It was a bit overwhelming, I think, all of the information, but I wanted so badly to put what I had learned in motion that I came home on fire. I was already a 4K, but I really wanted to, level up. So they were doing the bonuses, and I really wanted to hit that. And I came so close. I mean, I was this close. And I was a little bit discouraged, and I actually had prayed with one of the ladies that I had met there at Palooza. We prayed together, and within just a couple of hours, my telephone rang, and it was Billy Holderby, and he was reaching out to me to congratulate me and on having such a great month, and wanted to know if I wanted to be part of a daily accountability group where he was going to work with some people, given like a small group of people that had been to Palooza. And oh my gosh, the next month I hit it. I hit 12K, got my first auto bonus. I continued to grow from there, and it was just the next 6 months was just fabulous. The next Palooza that I went to was the one last year in Dallas. And this time I walked in knowing a whole room full of people. There was, about 20 of us that kind of sat together and hung out together. And I was able to take 2 of my downline along with me to Palooza. So we just had an absolute blast. It's worth it. I drove from Atlanta to Dallas. We drove halfway there the first night and slept in a hotel, but on the way home, we couldn't afford to do that. So we just drove all the way home, 17 hours in the car, but we made the best of it. And we had a blast. It was a great experience. I've booked my hotel room for this one and I'm going to be driving it again. So, gosh, I can't wait. I just cannot wait. I can't tell you how much you learn.
Oh my gosh, I love it so much. Yeah, okay, so that's a great story to start with. Guys, here's the thing. She just knew she needed to go, right? She loved her Thrive experience. She was like, okay, I need more. I think even from like as small children, we always need more, right? Like my kids, I remember when they were little, they wanted to jump from crawling to running and just more, next more, I need more. They start reading and then it's, well, I need more books, I need more bigger words, things like that. So that's kind of my take on this, just from hearing Sheila, is that when you come in and you need more, like we are meant to thrive together. And so when you go to Thrivepalooza, you can bond together. She didn't know anybody, y'all. And so I love that. So I would love for that to be an encouragement for any of you on here that are like, yeah, nobody that I know is going. Reach out. Let's get in your team pages. Let's see who's going and make a way to get there. I know there are some, if driving isn't an option, if you can't get with a group of people and road trip it, like what they did, you can always look for really cheap flights. You can get into Dallas pretty cheaply. You might not have like the most comfortable airline, but you can find, and you might have to make a stop, but you can find them if you just use Google, like we all use Google, right? So just use Google and it will help you to find like the cheapest way to get there. So Sheila, thank you so much for that. I love your spunk, girl. Thank you. All right, we're going to move on over to Pamela Walker. Pamela, are you there?
I'm here. Hello.
Hey. Okay.
How are you?
I'm so good. How are you?
Good.
I love your little setup back there. It's so cute.
Thank you. I'm at the beach. I'm always at the beach.
I love it. I'm going to be at the beach in a few days. I need the beach. Okay. Hey, yeah. Let me know in the chat who else going to Mexico. Oh my gosh. Who am I going to see there? I'm so excited. All right. Pamela, same kind of thing. Tell us, when was your first Thrivepalooza? How long had you been promoting? What were you going to go? Did you want to go? Did somebody force you to go? Tell us that story.
Right. Well, I became a promoter in July of 2017. So I was a customer during Thrivepalooza that year, and I watched like all my upline and their friends and everybody down there having a blast, and was just a customer, and didn't know that I could have went as a customer, but I saw it. And, when they all came back home, they're like, you've got to get to conference. You've got to get to conference. When I flipped to a promoter, that was drilled into my head. And I thought, well, okay, I've got to get to conference. I'm a nerd. So if there is a Zoom or a call or anything going on and I'm on it, if I'm not on it, I'm watching the recording. I have notebook after notebook after notebook of things that people say on these Zooms and calls. And some of the things that I had written down so many times when we got to New Orleans to conference, and I heard those in that atmosphere. I mean, just what you feel in there is like your favorite team's ball game that you're sitting in a stadium watching. It's better than that. But it just, everything clicks differently when you're sitting there hearing this and seeing these people, and you're like, oh, I've watched her on this thing so many times and she's actually real. and oh my God, she knows my name and she hugged me. It's like, it becomes a reality instead of just a dream. Um, so like I said, NOLA was my first one. We were sitting there. I was a 4K. They had announced that they were doing the Operation Bomb, and anybody that ranked up the following month of May got a cash bonus the same amount as their new rank. So I came home. I had, like, this notebook is full of New Orleans notes. I came home and my mom and my husband were downstairs. I said, I need 30 days. You got to give me 30 days. We didn't eat a lot of home cooked food. I didn't shower a lot, but, and I was in school. So that 30 days, I dug in. I read this book almost every day, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day. I hit that 12K bonus. I got my auto bonus. And ever since then, anyone that I speak to or talk to, I drill it in their head, get to conference. If you have to pack crackers and lifestyle mix to eat, we're Thrivers, we don't finish meals. So we shared a lot of meals in New Orleans. They give you big food. So, we would order just a couple of dinners and like 5 or 6 people sitting at the table could eat. We were lucky enough to get to drive there. We had to fly to Texas, but Tuesday nights from 9 p.m. to midnight is the cheapest rates for flights. So I booked 2 flights in 1 week, the same week of conference last year. So I knew how to find those cheap flights.
So, okay. So let's talk about that. Is there other little flight tricks if you're this flight guru? Anything anybody needs to know?
Well, we joined Expedia when Expedia first came out. So we use it if we are like when we cruise and go on family vacations and stuff, we use that. So anytime we book anything, we use that to get the points. So we save money on the next flight or the next hotel or whatever. And I mean, our hotel this past year in Texas, there was no walking room. I mean, we piled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people, I believe, in one room. We all got comfortable. We all got cozy. We got to know each other pretty dang quick. And, you just make it happen.
Yeah. Well, and I will say this because I have to make a disclaimer so that people don't say, well, Pamela and Amber told me to. Their hotels do have that max occupancy of 4, but I know, and like she's done, and I know I've done it before where we packed as many as we could in a room. We were just quiet because the thing is, you can't put 7 people in a hotel room and be loud and crazy. Right. You will get caught and you will get in trouble. So make sure, that you are being smart about it and whatnot. But also, guys, because it's in Grapevine, it's Gaylord. There's a lot of you don't have to stay at the Gaylord. It's a great hotel. But you can stay at local hotels nearby. Grapevine has a lot of them. You can also, there's Irving, other around nearby areas. You can also look at like VRBOs, Airbnb, that kind of thing, because you can fit a lot of people into one house and y'all can, Uber together or whatever. So there's a lot more options there too. So just kind of be on the lookout for that. All right. Pamela, what is something that you would say if somebody is just like, I want to go, but they're just on that fence?
Do it anyways. Do it for yourself. Do it for your family. If you have family, do it for your business, because what you come home with, you can't get anywhere else. You can't get it off of a Zoom or a boot camp call or, one of these trainings that we're doing. They're wonderful. I mean, Nashville was amazing, but you've got to get to conference and get that fire.
It's kind of like, you can, with all the technology now, you can watch your favorite artist or even your favorite Broadway play. You can watch it all via YouTube or on your big screen, huge in your media room if you have all that kind of technology, but it's still not the same, and so when you're there you're not distracted by the everything of life. You're just focused, and you're around other people that are focused like you. So you're all of the same goals, and the goal is don't talk to me. I'm focused. Like I'm soaking it all in. I'm writing in my journal as fast
Right.
as I can. So
Plus the extras, they had the social media lounge. We were the first to try the Thrive skincare because it was all set up there. I mean, you get the banners. The banners are worth going for. They hand you banners when you walk in. I mean, it's definitely worth any sacrifice that you have to make to get there. Will be worth it.
It is. It's just a really good time, and nobody that I know has left there and been like, "Oh, I wish I hadn't come here."
Right.
Like everybody has left and been like, "I'm so glad I came." So that's another thing is you're glad you came, and you then have to make that decision once you go home or on your way home. All right, what am I going to do with everything I learned? Because it's the same as like joining a gym.
Mm-hmm.
You have to make the choice of going and using the gym or just paying a
paying it, yeah.
gym, so it's the same thing. You come home from Thrivepalooza, and I love that you said that. You said, I sat down with my family and said, give me 30 days, because y'all know I talk about that all the time. We have family meetings when I'm like, listen, here's what's going to happen. And we plan out everything together and say, 30 days, I'm going to do this. If mom's on the call, dad's going to do bedtime. You plan it out, and you have to include your family in that. So I love that. Thank you so much, girl.
Thank you.
All right. See you soon. Okay. So Andrietta, where are you, sister?
Hey, Amber.
Hey, there you are. Are you at work?
Hey, I am.
Are you going to be in trouble?
No, I have my charge nurse is covering me right now.
Okay, great. I'm sorry. I should let you go first.
That's okay.
Okay. I'm so sorry. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and you just go ahead, take it away. What's your first Thrivepalooza story?
So I started as a promoter in September of 2015. My first Thrivepalooza was actually in Grapevine in 2016. So I'm super excited that we are going back to Grapevine, because that venue, you guys, is really amazing. The whole atrium on the inside. So just as a facility itself, it's just beautiful. It's really like an inspiring place to be. My first year at Thrivepalooza, I think what I was struck with the most is how generous this company is. The very first year was when Team Hoyt was launched, and I just realized, it's like being part of a church, and then finally you go to summer camp and you see like what your church is doing for the community and how they're giving back. And that's what I would say. It's like maybe we go and we're checked into our Zooms, we're checked into our team calls, but then when we go to a retreat that's focused on something, there's just a different quality and different energy where it raises that vibration. And so when you're in that group with so many people who are all working towards the same thing, and in all honesty, you guys, we are doing Thrive because it fills us up to know that we're bettering other people's lives. And so when you're in a room with 10, 20,000 people who are all focused on the same thing, and you start seeing what's happening with Thrive Nourish, with Team Hoyt, and other ways that this Thrive community is giving back, that in itself makes you realize, wow, we're really tied to a very philanthropic company that's doing amazing things. And then the other thing that happens is now this is going to be my fourth year, is, our business is an ebb and flow. We get, discouraged from time to time. We get hard on ourselves. And when you're in that room with a whole bunch of people who it doesn't really matter what your rank is, all those like kind of barriers are stripped back, and you realize that, we're all striving towards the same thing. It makes it feel like it's more attainable. It really feels like it's not out of reach. I feel like sometimes the disconnect with social media may put other people who've achieved that rank on a pedestal, and we put ourselves down where we don't think that we're good enough, that we don't think that we're worthy of this. And then when we're in that environment, we see that everyone is just human. And I love that Paul talks about that on the calls all the time. It doesn't matter our race or religion or gender preference, whatever it is, that we all come into that same room, and our passion for Thrive, our passion for Lavelle unites us. And there's an energy that gets taken away from that, where we can refill our cup and just really start pouring into our own teams and our own community. And there's things that are said in that environment that you're not going to hear it. Your brain is like wired in that environment to receive that information in a way. And I think it's like you were saying, Amber, because you've stripped away all the distractions. I mean, it's like watching a football game, and you're also scrolling on your iPad or something. You're not totally engaged, but like when you're
Or
there
your
and you're
kids
present,
or something.
or your kids, anything can be a distraction, your mom calling you or whatever. But there's something about being in that environment where you're just so focused, and the action, as long as you feel that with action leading there with a game plan. And that's what my tips would be to anyone. If you're on the fence about going, the first year we did the same thing. We piled up in a room. The last time when we were in NOLA, we did Airbnb, and we had 4 of us in a house, and it literally ended up being like $50 a night per person. And we just used public transit to get back and forth to the convention center. I mean, it's, and finally, I think the last thing that I'll say is that, right now we're getting into tax season, you guys. And I tell everybody I know, if you're not running a home-based business, then you're losing out on your taxes. I mean, every year I get a tax return back because of Lavelle, because I'm writing off the things, my cell phone bill, my part of my, mortgage, my utilities, and this is all included too, your flights, your food. So just see it as a tax write-off, see it as an investment in yourself, and get creative on how to invite your team. Right now I have a promo going with my team. Anyone who buys their ticket by Friday are getting credits back from me. So think of ways that you can give back to your team, because honestly, the more people in your downline, the more people that you have as far as your customers and promoters that are going with you, that is how you're going to fuel your business. And then you have that energy collectively together to go home with a game plan together. So I'll end with that, Amber.
I love it. And the thing is, you really have to get on the ball and get it planned and taken care of now, because I don't know about y'all, but January was the longest month ever. Like it was still January, and it was still January. And February has been like, hi, bye. Like I'm just like, how are we already in the 20 somethings of February? So, when that happens, and then here comes March, well then April, and it's May 1st is Thrivepalooza. So, you would probably travel on the last of April. So you gotta get going on that now. Mm-hmm. And I promise you can figure out a way to get there. You just might have to be a little more creative. I know some people in the past, they went through their house. Okay, this is the perfect time to declutter. And they went through their house and they sold stuff on, whatever you use in your area, whether it's Facebook or neighborhood, whatever, right? So they sold stuff. They're like, I didn't need that anyway. And they were able to pay for Thrivepalooza. You can start cutting out little extras that you might do for yourself, like whatever that may be. If you're a decaf Starbucks drinker, because we're Thrivers, but if you're a decaf Starbucks drinker, it's still $5 or $6. So, maybe start drinking that at home, right? Like just things like that a lot of times we don't think about. We don't realize $5 here, $5 there. Well, if you can start a jar and you can put that money in for Thrivepalooza, gas, hotel, food, that kind of thing. You can also buy, if you're traveling, if you don't live in that area, buy a case of waters. I do this every time I go somewhere that I'm spending 2 to 3 days or longer. I buy a case of waters like at CVS or whatever on my way to the hotel, because we drink a lot of water. And if you're buying a bottle of water at the hotel or anything like that, it's like $2 to $4 a pop, you know? So that way, you know, you have water, it's $3 a case versus $4 a bottle. Thinking things like that, little tips and tricks. Bread, you know, I know when I've gone on trips with girls before, we bought a bag of bread. We got, you know, check and see if they have refrigerators. If they don't, peanut butter and jelly. Like, just whatever you can do. If it's like, hey, I can't treat it like a getaway, but I am going to make sure I'm there. So just kind of things like that. Andrea, is there anything you can think of, little extra tips on how to make that extra dollar go longer to?
Well, as far as airfare, I like using Hopper. Hopper is one of my favorite apps, and it tells you whether to wait or purchase. So that's nice that it tells you to like wait, buy, or, you know, like price is expected to go down or not. As
Do
well
you have to
as,
watch that, or does it like send you?
no, it can put you can put it as a reminder, like watch that,
Okay.
that destination for you. So that's one I like to do. Some airlines like Southwest doesn't subscribe to Hopper, so I like to go to those direct sites, or like Spirit or Frontier. Like, go check the cheap flights. That's what we did when we went to New Orleans. We flew from, I'm in Flagstaff, Arizona. So we drove to Las Vegas, which is a hub for Spirit. And literally the flight was like $135. Then we had the Airbnb. So there's, you know, there's creative ways. If you have credits and you need snacks, get your Thrive bites, get your beef jerky, get your Pro bars.
And the new Pro
you know,
bars.
right? Get your, you know, bring in some, if you're a breakfast person, bring some oatmeal or bagels, or, you know, things along that line. And I think ultimately, to me, just being a tax write-off is the biggest savings in general. Like, you guys, it's all going to be able, you're going to be able to write this off your ticket. So I just think that, you know, find a way. If you have an excuse, there's going to be an excuse. But if you find a way, the way is going to be made for you. So stop having excuses and just see, this is essential for me to grow my business in 2020. And if you've lost sight of your 2020 goals, this is a way for you to reset your mindset and see that, I mean, big things are constantly coming with this company. And what if you miss that? What if you're not there and you don't get the opportunity to be refueled and be reinvigorated to whatever that next best thing is? I mean, what if we all got $1,000 just from showing up or something, you know? I mean, that's what they were doing a couple years ago. You know, just by having your ticket, you got entered into like some special things. So don't delay. I would just go on faith, you know, and really, that's a lot of what we do in this business is we go on faith, you know. Faith followed by action is going to lead to amazing results. So just make it happen.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I'm going to kind of follow up on that faith followed by action, because, you know, there's a lot of times, like, we have kids, we have crazy things happen. You know, I know there's been times for us where we've had to like split off, you know, like it's like, there was one Thrivepalooza that Jason couldn't be there. You know, my boys were racing in Vegas, and so they have to drive from Texas to Vegas because you have to get the bikes there. So the option of flying isn't there. I stayed and went to Thrivepalooza, but I flew to Vegas the minute Thrivepalooza was over. Everybody was hanging out, going, you know, had group parties and everything. I literally flew out the minute it was over, ran out the door, caught the Uber, got to the airport, and bye, Andrea. Thank you so much. Got to the airport, and made it to Vegas to go to bed with my family to wake up the next day before they raced. And I still got to see them race. So sometimes you just have to make it happen and you have to figure it out. And so that's what you're hearing from. You'll hear we have more Thrivepalooza stories coming. They're all going to be different because everybody's different. Everybody has a different experience. So I'm excited. All right, y'all, go rock your Sunday night. Go rock your week. Get ready for a good, strong week tomorrow. Bye, y'all.